Today I'm going to be working on this tree that's basically an experiment that I've been working on. Back about 11 years ago, a windstorm came through and this tree broke in half. Since then, I, I topped the tree and then I had these branches grow, and I've been doing yearly reduction cuts and some structure pruning to try to keep this tree short because there's a lot of things wrong with this tree. I don't want it to grow tall. So next we'll work on it. Let's get to it. So like I mentioned, about 11 years ago, when the tree split in half, then what I did was a topping cut, and I had these sprouts come from nowhere. It's this one right here and this other one in the back, that basically turned into the main structure of the tree. So this tree is not a super good tree. This is all rotted out all the way to the base, and it's on both sides. There's a seam that goes here. So it's not a tree that I really want to get large. The thing is, my wife really likes this tree. She loves the bloom on it. So I'm doing my best to keep it as long as I can. So what I've been doing is like yearly pruning to reduce the tree and keep it at a manageable height. Because this tree could probably get about 40 feet tall, and I don't want that to happen. What's been happening more recently are some of these lower branches are starting to die out. So now my canopy is starting to grow higher. So I don't want it to keep on growing higher. And it's just not going to be a good situation. So what I plan on doing is just cleaning up the dead, and then I'm going to do reduction cuts, even a lot more heavier than I normally would. What I'm trying to do is push the tree to grow and maybe push out sprouts down low. And then what I'll do is I'll work on trying to create those sprouts as some of the main lower branches. So we'll see what we can do. So the first thing that I thought I would do is just remove the dead branches. The dead branches don't need to be there, just they don't do anything for the tree. So basically I'll just take them out really quick. This will be the first one. All right. Now these were some of the lower branches. Oh, I see. That's the branch. So they're lower branches and they started to die. So I don't really have any use for them anyways. All right. I'm going to do a finish cut, and when I'm cutting, even though it's dead, I'm just going to do my best to cut where the branch bark ridge is. The branch bark ridge is, here's a branch bark ridge, so I'm going to cut and try to stay within this area. So when the tree tries to callus, it can do it in a good way. If you cut too deep into it, it doesn't callus very well. All right, there we go. All right, next, we'll walk back and have a look at the entire canopy. And then I'll point out some of the longer branches that I'm planning on reducing. So I walked back a little bit so I can have an overall view of the canopy and try to figure out what branches I can take out. So I'm taking branches out that are, for this tree, pretty large, and it's substantial. It's not something that I would really ever do on a good healthy tree, but I'm really wanting to stress this tree out and cause it to react. So I'm going to take some big chunks out of it. They may not look like big branches, but to this tree, they're pretty darn big. So right now I'm making my plan. So initially I'm gonna go over here and I've got this pretty good size branch right here. So this was one of the main stems. So I got this pretty good size branch here. What I think I'm gonna do is I will take it to this part right here, and then I've got another large branch here, and I think what I'll do is take it here and I don't know, maybe take another piece off, and then I have a really long branch here that's really going high that I'll probably take out, and then this back guy here. So after I do that, then what I'll do is work on reducing some of the ends of each of those branches that are left. All right, so here comes the one that I plan on taking out up to here. I think I can do it with the pole pruner. Let's see. Oh, headache. This one is basically repeating and it's going straight up. So I'll take it out. Make two cuts. Okay. Oh, I gotta be careful because I'm cutting the other branches. Let's see here. All right. All right. A lot of times when you're making cuts, you'll do 3 cuts. So you initially take the weight off of it, and then you leave a little stub like this, and then you do a finish cut. That way you'll have less rips throughout the tree when you're trimming. A rip isn't really good because when you rip and it goes down, it's really difficult for the tree to callus over. So let me see here. Slow down. All right, there it goes. All righty. All right, clear. You see how the branch is leaning that way? So I'll do the back cut here on the lean side, and then on the opposite side, I'll make the top cut. Oops. So when it starts to lean, it'll go that direction of the weight. All right. Okay. Got a little dead piece here that I'll just clean off real quick. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go, we've gotta go back and have a look at the canopy again, now that some of these branches are out, and then figure out what we can do to make it even shorter using a pole pruner. Now that I've taken the dead wood out and I've taken some pretty good size larger branches out, I'm gonna go to the remaining branches and just start reducing all of them. And some of them I might even do some heading cuts. A heading cut is not normally a good thing to do. Usually a heading cut could be just cut to a stub or maybe like a bud. I'll probably do some of that because I am trying to get a reaction to the tree. I really want the tree to just kick out lots of growth. If I was thinning it and I want to just keep it thin, then doing heading cuts would be horrible. And plus this is like an experiment and it's something that I'm not going to keep forever. So right now I'll just go around the whole tree and I'll just reduce it to smaller side branches. That's what we're going to do here. Hopefully. All right. And just go throughout. Let me see what I got here. To like little, even as little as that. And taking out little tiny branches. That's going to be, this is a heading cut right here. Oh no, I'll take it to here. Right here. All right. And then this interior one here to this little tiny branch. Oh, shoot, it slipped on me. All right. Okay. Now I'll just take this one all the way out. Really wide open. Dead branch. You see these where I'm trying to cut to lateral branches and at the same time do some reducing. So this is almost right here like a heading cut. So kind of go to a branch that's already started to grow and nip it there. There. And then just take this guy all the way out to here. Looks like a dead. All right. Now I'll move around this way a little bit more. Actually, I'm just gonna do a heading cut. Cut it to nothing. Leave it like a stub. Now here, reduction more. We'll take this all the way down to here. Well, that's gonna be height reduced greatly. All right. And see, I'm even gonna cut this to this little guy. Little stub right there. Take this one completely out. And it's dead. Oh, no. I'm actually gonna take this all the way out to here. If I can do that. There we go. Cool. Now the very center of the tree is super high. Let's see if we can reduce it by taking these out. All right. Let me grab this out of the way and I can see what I need to do. All right. So, see how there's a fork here? I'll take the longer of the two. There we go. Now this, I'm going to try to bring this up to green. Let me see. And that just did. I got to get a better angle, but yeah, a really small branch of green. So this is almost like a heading cut also. It's all right, because we're going to push this guy for growth. All right. And then this guy right here. And this branch right here goes really far. So I'll cut it to this little lateral right here. There we go. And then I'll even take this to this lateral here. Now I'm looking on that side over there, and this one branch here is just way high. So this one right here, what I'll do is I'll just cut it to this main stem here and take it out. All right. Let me clean out some of the other pieces here. Okay. And then there's a little piece of dead. I'll cut it to green. All right. So one more piece of dead here, and up to a tiny little bud. Not gonna look very pretty. And then what we have here is this limb's going pretty far. So I'll bring it back probably to this lateral here, right here. So when you're doing pruning cuts, and if you're gonna do some reduction cut, a reduction cut is where you're taking the length off of a branch and cutting it to a lateral branch. Now, the proper way to do it is when this branch is almost the same size as the one you're cutting to. So say I'd make a reduction cut here, and I cut this branch here. So this one that I removed is almost the same size as this one. So what happens when you do a cut like that, the energy that the tree releases will go into this stem here. Now the energy that goes to this kind of contains it, and it turns this branch into a stronger branch, okay? But on the other hand, if I do a cut and say it's smaller, so say if this one was a green, if this was a green branch, and then I made a cut to this little branch here, well, that's almost like a heading cut. This little bud isn't really enough to handle the energy that the tree is going to give it. So what can happen here is now more branches might come out on the stem, or maybe in more places here. So that is a reduction cut, but to a branch that's way too small. Now, if I were to make a cut like this, not to any branch, I just make a cut here, and now I leave this stem. That's a heading cut. It's also considered a topping cut. Now there's no energy for this tree to send to a branch. So what happens is all of the energy is at the end, and then little sprouts pop out from this end. You can get multiple little buds popping here, and so what happens there is you can get more weight because the branches can get larger, or you get more that pop out from the stem. So in the normal way, that's not how you want to leave it. And normally you want to cut to lateral branches. So you'd cut to, something like that when you're doing that. So now on this tree, what I've been doing is I'm kind of doing the opposite of normal. And I did leave some of these heading cuts because what I'm trying to do is make this tree go crazy with energy and throw out latent buds wherever I can get them. Like I mentioned, I was hoping to get them on the trunk over here. So now that I've cut it pretty heavy, and I did some topping, like heading cuts, and I did reduction cuts, and I did it to every single stem. Normally I would never do that. But what I'm hoping is that now that I've done that, that maybe I might get little sprouts coming out on the trunk here. And then what I'll do with those is I'll try to manage them, like lightly reduce them, and see if I can turn them in to a low branch. And then continue to reduce the top if I can. And if not, we don't know. This is not a super great tree. It's an experiment. It's pretty loose. But if I keep it small, it's never going to be a risk. As I mentioned, this isn't the way that I normally like to trim, but it is an experiment, and it's something that I've been working on for about 11 years. So I did take quite a bit out. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I generate, or this tree generates that extra growth that I'm looking for, and maybe I can turn some smaller sprouts into the branches, and maybe I can keep it low. Yeah, I did take quite a bit out of it. I'd say more than 50% of the live growth, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully it does what I want it to do. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you like what we do, and by all means, share our video. Take care.